The real reason Aaliyah's family never spoke out about her death is finally being revealed, and allegedly, Aaliyah's case might be reopened. A new investigation into the alleged 2001 murder of Aaliyah Dana Houghton has uncovered shocking details that implicate some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Has Jay-Z's karma finally caught up to him, and did Aaliyah's mom really know what was happening?
The plane crash that killed a rising star in the world of music and film. Reaction today after Aaliyah and 8 others were killed when their plane went down. Good evening, I'm Lauren Glassbergen for Sandra Bookman.
And I'm Tim Fleischer. The plane, just after taking off for Florida in perfect weather, suddenly plummeted to the ground. Investigators now saying one of the engines apparently failed. Along with 8 passengers, Aaliyah, a young Brooklyn native and a talented singer and actress. Jeff Rosten is live in Times Square with more on her life. Jeff.
And Aaliyah had a huge following not only here in New York City, but nationwide. Only 22 years old, this pop sensation was a popular singer. She was an actress in some movies recently, even a Grammy nominee. Tonight, her family is in mourning. Fans asking, why her? Relatives in shock outside Aaliyah's home on the Upper West Side. The R&B star lived here at the Century, Central Park West and 63rd. She was on a small plane heading to Florida from the Bahamas, where she was shooting a music video.
At the age just 22, Aaliyah was at the top of the music world. Albums like One in a Million and hits like Are You That Somebody were making waves everywhere, and no one could deny that Aaliyah was a one-in-a-million talent. Jay-Z, Diddy, Dame Dash, and R. Kelly, every major name and executive in hip-hop was after Aaliyah. But they weren't there for her talent, they were there for something far more disgusting. Allegedly, Aaliyah was just 15 when R. Kelly, now a convicted pedophile, came after her and married her. Aaliyah was groomed and taken advantage of.
Biggie died, Tupac died, and then there was the fight between who was the top rapper now, Nas and Jay-Z, and then the next thing you know, Nas has a nervous breakdown and he's taken out of the game, and it's all Jay-Z.
It's all Jay-Z.
It's all Jay-Z. And he was working with R. Kelly, and they were making so many records together. You know, they made all those records together. They both fucked Aaliyah.
Unnecessary court fees and litigations because Jay-Z wants me broken, stopped, or under his control. And it ain't gonna happen, Sean. I'm never gonna be under your control. Never. You need to learn how to control your wife and her friends and their mouths. Because you got Beyonce in the Beehive looking real dumb right now. 5 million unfollowed, and that number's going to go up with every image in one of those freak-off tapes. And God help, if anybody here how that really talks about people with her, they'll start unfollowing by the tens of hundreds. Again. And they should. Because the truth is, the only reason they were following was because of the witchcraft and the spells that were being pushed out through the media. Y'all ain't fans because y'all really love them and y'all really think they're the best. You're fans because you fell for the hype. And they are hypes. I know I can sing. I've been able to do that my whole life. And they've been trying to stop me my whole career. Because see, unlike Beyonce, I'm not willing to hurt people to get famous. See, that's the part of the story that they're not telling y'all. That the more terrible you are, the more they'll protect you.
Aaliyah's second album went double platinum when she was just 16. 2 months after her third album was released, however, Aaliyah died in a plane crash. What was first only described as an accident was soon discovered to be something far more shocking. Allegedly, Aaliyah was murdered, and her plane crash was just a cover-up. Eyewitness accounts over the years, along with reports from people familiar with the incident, say that Aaliyah wasn't even conscious when she was loaded onto the airplane.
Jaguar Wright told us that Jay-Z was worse than Diddy. And we're going to go ahead and deep dive this Jay-Z and Diddy connection to show just how deep this might actually go. The one thing I can't stand is seeing these photos of Jay-Z and Diddy with Aaliyah. It makes me sick to my stomach. We know that Diddy and Jay-Z have both been friends with R. Kelly for years, and Jay-Z continued to make albums with R. Kelly after all the information came out with him and Aaliyah. And I'd say this is because Jay-Z was pretty comfortable with the fact that he knew he also wanted Aaliyah, and honestly, so did Diddy. And Aaliyah's death has never sat right with me. There are so many sketchy things around her death that just don't make sense. The fact that Aaliyah was given a substance and knocked unconscious and then was carried onto this plane that she didn't want to get on because she thought that something was wrong with it that led to her death is just crazy. There's also even more disturbing information about Aaliyah's pilot of that plane, and they said that he had just joined the program 2 days prior before the flight, and he wasn't even supposed to be the pilot on that flight.
Aaliyah was sitting in a taxi as her team and the flight crew argued nearby about whether or not to take off, and she complained of having a headache. Now, reportedly, a baggage handler nearby said that someone from her entourage gave her a pill. She took the pill, and that right after she fell into a very deep sleep. So deep, in fact, that she was carried onto the airplane still asleep.
Around the same time of her death, rumors were slowly starting to come out that Aaliyah and Jay-Z were in a relationship when Aaliyah was just 19 and Jay-Z almost 31. This means that it wasn't just R. Kelly who had Aaliyah, but Jay-Z too. Jay-Z and R. Kelly were friends, and they were both involved with the same girl. Dame Dash stopped talking to Jay-Z because of his connection to R. Kelly.
Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who is a victim of Sean Carter.
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige, who is a victim of Sean Combs, are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay-Z victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened.
Do you have any opinion on the R. Kelly situation? Do you think he got railroaded, or he's where he belongs?
Yeah, I think he's where he belongs. I mean, I know Aaliyah, so I know what he did.
Oh.
I can't be objective about that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he definitely seemed like he needed some help.
You ever have beef with R. Kelly while you was with Aaliyah? Did you ever hang on to no or get weird? Or?
Nah, she had asked me to leave it alone completely. So she never really wanted to tell me. It was like things I'd be like, yo, she just was just leave it alone. She just wanted it left alone. So that's the thing that people would be like when Jay was doing videos with him, I was be in the video, but I'd be like, yo, what do you want me to do? And she'd be like, don't start nothing, just don't be in no shots with him. So I would never. You show me a picture of me in a picture with him and shit. Mm-hmm. And then when he did the record with Jay, that's why I was that was almost like one of the things where I was just like, he's out of here, Jake. I just let it go because I couldn't believe he did a project with her, with R. Kelly, knowing that he had a girl. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, if you look at it, like I'm not on there as an executive producer and like.
Aaliyah had just finished shooting the music video for her song Rock the Boat in the Bahamas and was scheduled to return to the U.S. When she got to the plane, however, something felt wrong. The plane had been overloaded with cargo, and the pilot was acting weird. An autopsy report would later reveal that the pilot, Luis Morales, was under the influence of drugs and just 2 weeks prior to the flight had been under probation for drug possession.
When the twin-engine Cessna crashed, witnesses said it rolled hard to the left after taking off and fell almost straight down. There have been unconfirmed reports that the pilot, Luis Morales of Fort Lauderdale, may have questioned the amount of cargo and passengers to be loaded, and that's one of the first areas investigators will look into.
One thing we may discover that it was we can determine the weight of the luggage, which may help the investigators in determining whether the plane had an overload.
The crew that perished in the crash traveling with Aaliyah was scheduled to come back to South Florida on Sunday with the charter company Sky Limo in this 15-passenger plane, which can carry up to 4,500 pounds of fuel, passengers, and luggage. But for some reason, Aaliyah and her entourage chose to leave on Saturday afternoon in the smaller Cessna.
We feel very terrible about what happened. It was, obviously a terrible tragedy. One of those things of fate that, if she'd been on this plane that next day, maybe this all wouldn't have happened. We all wouldn't be here.
When Aaliyah saw the plane, she knew something was wrong. Allegedly, Aaliyah didn't want to board the plane. Her autopsy report also showed drugs in her system, suggesting that right before takeoff, Aaliyah had been drugged and forced to board that doomed flight. Some reports even suggest that Aaliyah was unconscious when she was loaded onto the flight.
On August the 25th, as you heard earlier, 2001, Aaliyah and 8 others died in this fiery plane crash just a minute after taking off from an airport in the Bahamas. Sadly, no one survived. Now, she'd been filming a music video just 200 miles east of Miami. A witness has since come forth claiming Aaliyah was given a pill before she got on the flight. What have you uncovered about that allegation?
Yeah, the new book, Baby Girl, reveals some new details about the final moments before that tragic accident. And according to the author, Aaliyah was sitting in a taxi as her team and the flight crew argued nearby about whether or not to take off, and she complained of having a headache. Now, reportedly, a baggage handler nearby said that someone from her entourage gave her a pill. She took the pill, and that right after, she fell into a very deep sleep. So deep, in fact, that she was carried onto the airplane still asleep and may not have even been aware that she was on the airplane. Now, we should say we don't know what that pill was. It could have been aspirin. Maybe she was just very tired from a long video shoot. And the baggage handler did say that she took it willingly. But it does reveal some new information about those final moments.
Dame has been speaking out about what happened with Aaliyah for decades, but no one took him seriously. Dame said everyone in the industry was after Aaliyah, and when Aaliyah decided to get with him instead of Jay-Z, that's what angered Jay-Z the most. The plane that Aaliyah was supposed to be on was taken by Hype instead, and Aaliyah knew that there was something wrong with her plane. She had a fight with Jay-Z just weeks before the accident, and she knew Jay was out to get her.
I didn't even know it was Aaliyah when I saw her. I was like, who the f is that? She just looked mad good. That that picture that everybody puts up, and it's like a Puff's party, and we're all on the bed and all that other shit, pause. But like the big pictures, that's the night that we made it happen. So that's where I left, and that's where my life changed dramatically. Yeah, that day, that's when it happened. I was, like I said, me and homeboy was both getting at her. It was like one of us is gonna win, and I won.
So Jay, he was trying to get at her too.
Yeah, everybody knows that. He was going hard. It was Aaliyah. Everybody was going at Aaliyah. That's why it hurt so much when I was the one that got to get with her. But I wasn't even thinking I was gonna fall in love. But she just was too ill, too cool.
Was he feeling the type of way when you made it official with her?
Yeah, but I don't want to do that to him, bro. Obviously, you see you see what happened. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I would say so. His friends get with him.
Right. So what I do want to ask you about Aaliyah, what was the situation with Hype Williams where, he took her plane and she had to take the plane that he was using? Like, what happened with that?
No. She was in Miami and the video was supposed to be in Miami. And I had told her, I was like, Hype does this thing where he'll act like he needs more days just so he can get paid more. And don't let him do that. And then, all of a sudden she comes back and was like, he wants to go to the Bahamas. I was like, I told you he was going to do that. And what I had heard was that, what I was told was she was supposed to be on Lenny Kravitz's jet, but like he offered it to her. And you could ask Lenny Kravitz, I guess. And Hype took it.
Yeah, they should. I mean, she'll still be here. If she was on the plane she was supposed to be on.
I said a lot of things years ago, and they all realized themselves later. But the things that I found appalling for some reason 10 years ago, no one found them appalling when they were happening. It took for everyone to get busted for people to find it appalling. But no one ever says when they don't have to, because nobody really gives a. I've seen that firsthand. But once it becomes popular opinion, that's when everybody's appalled. You know, that's when they pay attention. That's when Dame was right again. But wrong in the moment, overreacting in the moment, but 10 years later, I was dead right. It's, again, another behavior pattern, a human trait that I don't even judge people for anymore.
8 people died in the crash that took Aaliyah's life. Immediately upon impact, 5 people, including Aaliyah, died. 3 of the passengers later died due to the injuries. Allegedly, the plane didn't even survive takeoff and swerved to the left right after it left the ground. Combine this with the fact that the official coroner's report states that Aaliyah died from severe burns and a blow to the head. And you can see why so many people doubt the official story.
The plane was ready for departure. Positioned on runway 27, the west-facing side, Captain Morales powered up his plane and began the takeoff run. The plane would use little over half of the runway to accelerate to takeoff speed. Captain Morales angled his plane into the air and immediately experienced difficulty in controlling the aircraft. In the plane's very short flight, the aircraft peaked at an altitude under 100 feet above the runway. As the plane was highly unbalanced, the Cessna pitched into a high nose-up attitude. The left wing began to drop as not enough lift was being generated by the wings to sustain the excessive weight of the aircraft. This led into a left bank and the nose dropped. In the following seconds, the plane fell to the ground. In a nose-down left bank attitude, the Cessna crashed into the ground in a marshy area just beyond the end of the runway. A fire consumed the wreckage of the aircraft. 8 of the plane's 9 occupants were dead, killed when the plane crashed. There was one initial survivor, Aaliyah's own bodyguard, Scott Gallen. He was found by first responders, but he passed away shortly after the crash. The investigation put the accident down to multiple factors: an overweight plane, improper distribution of the weight, an unqualified pilot, falsified documents, and poor airline management.
Some are wondering whether the crash that took Aaliyah's life was truly an accident. Despite no definitive evidence, some online sleuths believe that Aaliyah's death may have been organized to protect famous faces in the music industry who may have been involved in Diddy's alleged crimes. More intriguing, however, is a detail concerning the moments before the fateful plane crash. According to the Daily Beast, Aaliyah had a known fear of flying. Some question why she would have boarded the private plane, which was small and overloaded with luggage, a contributing factor in the crash. An eyewitness whose family reportedly owned the taxi company Aaliyah and her team used to get to the airport claimed to have seen her being carried onto the plane unconscious.
An investigation into the crash revealed that Aaliyah's plane was almost 1,000 pounds overweight before takeoff, and her pilot wasn't even qualified to fly it. Keep in mind that Aaliyah was one of the biggest names in hip-hop at the time. For her to pass away like that right after a fight with Jay-Z at the peak of her career isn't just a coincidence. This is part of a pattern. Anyone who tries to mess with Jay-Z ends up dead.
Weather conditions were good, so the plane took off around 6:45 p.m. The plane began flying at high speed over the runway 27 and took off quickly. It banked to the left as it reached an altitude of about 40 feet above the runway. Suddenly, the aircraft tilted forward and hit the marshy terrain with its left wing and nose. The aircraft then rolled around before finally coming to a stop about 300 feet before the end of the runway, heading east. The plane had sustained heavy damage, and a fire broke out after the crash. About 135 square meters of the south side of runway 27 was covered with the wreckage. Lewis Key, a 25-year-old charter pilot who worked on an aircraft about half a mile away, witnessed the crash. He saw the Cessna crash when it was only 60 to 100 feet above the ground. The man ran to a fire truck and was horrified when he arrived at the crash site. It was an awful sight. Some bodies were so badly disfigured, you couldn't identify them. And 2 guys were alive, one screaming and screaming for help. He was horribly burned all over, said charter pilot Lewis Key. I've seen crashes before, but that was probably one of the worst ones, he said. It was pretty devastating. The aircraft was broken into pieces, and some of the seats were thrown from the aircraft. First responders on the scene found Aaliyah's body about 20 meters from the wreckage. She was immediately deceased. According to a later autopsy report, she had severe burns and head injuries. Just before the collision, she had gone into shock that weakened her heart. The coroner later indicated that even if she had survived the accident, her injuries were so severe that she might never have fully recovered. Aaliyah was only 22 years old.
Pilot, who we'll talk about in a minute, recommended that only 7 people fly with Aaliyah, or a total of 7 people in the party. She happened to have 8 in her party. And there was also some heavy equipment and luggage on board. Aaliyah was a nervous flyer, and she was immediately sort of put off by this. Another thing, the flight was scheduled to take off early in the night. It was about 3.5 hours late to arrive at the Abaco Islands.
Which, if you're a nervous flyer, already adds to your anxiety. You see this tiny plane, they're late, it's nightfall all of a sudden. Shortly after takeoff, literally 200 feet from the runway, the plane nosedives and crashes, killing nearly instantly 7 of the passengers and the pilot. The only survivor in the immediate aftermath of the crash was a man named Scott Gallen. Scott Gallen was Aaliyah's security guard.
The most shocking revelation came from what Lisa Van Allen said. She dated R. Kelly and said that R. Kelly told her that he and Aaliyah got married in secret while Aaliyah was just 15. Aaliyah's mom knew all about it, but never said anything because she was involved with R. Kelly too. R. Kelly was hooking up with Aaliyah and Aaliyah's mom at the same time.
So yeah, we dealt with that. He told me about him and Aaliyah, their situation. They had a pact, pins and eyeballs. No matter what anyone said or if anyone stuck pins in their eyeballs, they would never tell about their relationship. Things like that.
Okay, so what exactly did he tell you about his relationship with Aaliyah outside of the pins and eyeballs thing?
He told me that they were married, that she was pregnant, that they did doctor up the marriage certificate so she would say that she was 18 so they could get married. And the reason they got married was because they felt like if he was married to her and if he said he thought that she was 18, that he wouldn't be charged if someone found out she was pregnant until they were able to get the abortion and get it annulled.
Okay, because I'd always heard that rumor that R. Kelly married Aaliyah because he had gotten her pregnant.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. And this came out of his mouth. I could take a lie detector test to this. This is what he told me, specifically told me.
Okay. I mean, you cleared out like literally a decades-old rumor.
Right.
Like,
No, it's not a rumor.
Anyone actually.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So R. Kelly was having sex with her from like what age? 14, 15?
Honestly, I'm not really sure the age, but I definitely know when they got married, she was 15. So if she was pregnant, I mean, I'm imagining at least 14, So.
Okay. So R. Kelly gets Aaliyah pregnant. They try to get married with a fake age. It ultimately gets annulled. Aaliyah never talks about it.
Yeah. They stuck to their pact.
Yeah. And I remember seeing an interview with Dame Dash, who had dated her, years later, right before she passed.
Yes.
And he even said that he had asked her about it once, and she said, I don't want to talk about it. And
Yeah.
that was the end of that. So, she stuck to that.
Allegedly, after Aaliyah would go to bed, R. Kelly would go meet her mom and cheat on Aaliyah. Aaliyah allegedly never found out what her mom was doing behind her back. This affair continued for some time during the period Aaliyah was working closely with R. Kelly. Some sources claim it created tension in the household, though it was never made public at the time.
Did you ask him at all why he was having, because he was probably, 24, 25 at the time? Like, why he was having the 14-year-old?
Yeah, he was older. I never asked him why. I guess because we were kind of like in a conversation of just confiding in each other. But he did get a little more in depth with more details about when her mother found out, and that her mother, he actually stayed at their home in Detroit, and her mother actually was attracted to him as well. And he said when Aaliyah would go to sleep, that he would, this is what he said. He said that he would go in the living room and him and her would do sex on the couch while Aaliyah was sleeping in the bedroom.
R. Kelly was having sex with Aaliyah and her mother at the same time?
That's
not the exact same time, but
that's
the
what he
same
said.
time frame?
That's what he says, yeah.
Oh, so maybe this is why Aaliyah's parents have never spoken out themselves.
Makes sense to me.
Aaliyah's death sent shockwaves throughout the music industry. Both Timbaland and DMX, who had worked closely with Aaliyah, said they were shocked by her death. Timbaland described her as his little sister, and admitted he struggled with depression in the years following her passing. DMX, visibly emotional in interviews, said Aaliyah had a light and energy that couldn't be replaced, dedicating his Miss You music video to her memory.
I have a couple of very, very fond moments of Aaliyah. Oh, actually, more than that. But, the first one I'd say was after my part was up and I was leaving, and I was not gonna chill. She was in hair and makeup trailer, and I was not gonna tell I was leaving. And she gave me a hug. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, okay, And so then we did the song. Everybody wanted to be like, yo, this is Aaliyah. I'm like, yes, let's get it. So we shoot a video, like, I was married at the time. So I brought my wife and my dog to the video set. And wifey's holding the dog, like way over there. And there's a scene when I'm sitting on the top of the bench and she's sitting between my legs, so she got on a t-shirt. I mean, at least I had on a jean jacket. So in between takes, I was like warming her arms up, you know what I'm saying? Like
You were also very close with Aaliyah, who's like brother and sister, is the way you've described it. After she died in a plane crash in 2001, you went into a severe depression.
Yes.
What was that time like for you, Timberland?
That time was a trying time. It's more of a lot of prayers and a lot of people, you know, just supporting, and you know, because it's not just the loss of the physical, but it's the feeling. Like she was music, and that's a part of me. It's like transforming. You connect.
So what happened to you during that period?
Just wasn't motivated to do anything.
Yeah.
Just like everybody, I think we're good, but not that depressed. I'm gonna, want to kill myself.
Right.
But just no motivation. Didn't believe in myself.
So what pulled you out of it?
Prayer.
Industry insiders, including 50 Cent, always knew that there was something up with Jay-Z and Aaliyah's death. In a recent interview about his upcoming docuseries, Did He Do It?, 50 Cent said that he had been saying since the start that Jay-Z's silence was suspicious. For many, the fact that such a high-profile figure chose to remain quiet during such a pivotal moment only deepened the mystery.
Speaking of, in particular, Netflix docuseries that you've been working on, Did He Do It?
Right.
You've been saying for years that you feel you knew Diddy's character.
Right.
Yet you've said you weren't a part of that lifestyle, you weren't going to the parties. So what makes you so absolutely sure that these kinds of allegations that we've seen against him are true?
Well, I'm surprised by the allegations, as surprised as everyone else is. Like, I didn't make the allegations. I didn't tell people to say these things. It comes out, I see it in the news like everyone else. But I did feel uncomfortable with the way he would present the idea of going to these projects.
To come party with me.
Yeah. And then that swayed me away from it, just that alone.
So you didn't realize
as much stuff was coming. Like, when I seen today, it was allegations of 3 men that said he and it's a long time, to be honest with you. Like, when people don't remember being violated for 20 years, it makes me feel a little hard.
What are your thoughts on the allegations against Jay-Z?
That was interesting. When I was saying things, not knowing exactly what I was saying, but I was going, where's Jay at? He's mad quiet. Like while the Puffy thing was going on. But it's obvious now that his team was being made aware that he was in those allegations also. So I hope it works out, because with his family, the things that go on internally those accusations are crazy.
Whether you believe these are just rumors or part of a much bigger story, one thing is certain: Aaliyah's legacy still sparks questions decades later. But what do you think? Was Jay-Z's silence just respect for privacy, or is there something more beneath the surface? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.